thank you very much for having joined us today, and welcome to the webinar Tackle Odor Pollution with OdourCollect. We hope you enjoy this webinar, and we are sure you will do. So please use the chat to share all your comments on the webinar, and we will try to answer all your questions, all your comments, all your insights. So let's start. We have organized this event within the framework of Cost for Cloud project, so I'm going to explain you briefly what is this project about. Cost for Cloud is a European Horizon 2020 project which started in December 2019. The name of our project is to develop 10 technological services that boost citizen science observatories in terms of increasing the quantity and the quality of citizen science observations. And once created, all these services will be available in the new European Open Science Cloud, which is the EOSC. In the project participate 9 citizen observatories focused on biodiversity and environmental monitoring that will test these Cost for Cloud services with their users, and one of them is OdourCollect, which is the star of this webinar. Throughout all the project, we will organize more talks on citizen science activities with OdourCollect and the other 8 citizen observatories that participate in Cost for Cloud. So we encourage you to follow us on our social media and visit our website. And there you can read all our news, see all our events, and you can find us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We also encourage you to share your opinion on the webinar on the social media and mention us. So the webinar will be divided in 3 parts. For each section, you will have time for questions. And we are also going to use the tool called Mentimeter. I don't know if you are familiar with it, but the speaker will present you this tool and teach you how to use it. Unfortunately, I want to inform you that Rosa Arias was unable to attend today to the webinar because of personal matters, but 2 experienced members of her team will be conduct this event, so you are in good hands. And now I am giving the floor to Silvina Frucela, who is the first speaker, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Thank you very much.
Hello, good afternoon. I wonder if you see my, I'm sorry, it always happens like this. Well, I am Silvina Frucela. I don't know if you can see my screen okay. If not, please, the organizers tell me. I am Silvina Frucela. I am the business manager for Science for Change, and I'm also in charge of co-designing the new services within the Cost for Cloud project. So the tool that Angela commented recently is Mentimeter. So we please ask you if you can enter this site, menti.com, and you can enter this code also. And then you will be able to participate from some questions we're going to ask during the presentation. I would ask you to mute your mics because there's some noise, there's someone speaking, so it's better if you put yourself in mute, and then we will have some time for questions. So here is my partner. I don't know, Nora, if you want to present yourself.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nora. I am a social sciences researcher, and I am also the CEO of Science for Change. And together with Silvina, we are collaborating in the co-design of the Cost for Cloud project. So welcome, everyone.
Well, so let's start talking about odors. what is odor pollution? We usually talk a lot about odors, especially in these times of climate emergency. We always talk about air pollution, water pollution. We usually talk a lot about emissions, about lowering our footprints regarding the activities we as humans usually do. But what about odor pollution? I don't know if you are aware of this, but odors are the second cause worldwide of environmental complaints after noise. So people usually complain first about noise and second about odors. And um, this, sorry, I have some noise. Well, I go on. What can cause odor pollution? It depends on where you live, of course, but these are some of the most common sources of bad smells or odors, as we used to call them. So landfills, all activities related to waste treatment, wastewater plants also usually smell very bad. Livestock, it depends of industrial plants, of course. And people usually complain a lot about these facilities emitting bad odors. And also, even when it's not so obvious, there are also a lot of complaints worldwide about nice smells, what are supposed to be a nice odor. For example, it's very comfortable, it's very nice to smell coffee at home, but maybe if you have a plant who's roasting coffee the whole day and night, maybe it's not so nice to smell that the whole day. So there is also there are also a lot of complaints about nice odors. So what's the impact of odor pollution? The first worry that most people have when talking of odor pollution is, can this harm me? Is this harmful for me, for my health? I have to say that on most cases, it is not so harmful to the health. Of course, it's very important to know which the source is, because depending on the source, maybe it's harmful or it's a risk for health or not. But on many occasions, it is not so harmful to health as it is annoying. It's very annoying to be suffering from bad odors the whole day. So it usually brings headache, stress, lack of concentration. They are like a sign of alert and a sign of um, nuisance for the population, for the people. Also, sometimes it brings breathing problems, and there is even more serious because it can really go to affect health. So it's very important to understand which is the source of the bad smell we are suffering. It can certainly affect the quality of our life. It's not nice to live and to suffer from this type of odors. So what do we do? What should we do when a community is suffering from this affection? It's important to measure, not only knowing which the source is, but also measuring odors. And here I want to briefly tell you that there are a lot of traditional techniques to measure odors to know how they affect the area. Generally, they are expensive because they need either sensors or people with sensors that go to an area and smell. And they are usually expensive and not very efficient because as they are expensive, you cannot have all the sensors you may want to have. So some times ago, like 5 years ago, we started thinking, what if we change our paradigm? What if we change this situation? We have, we are people, we are persons, and we come equipped with the best sensor ever, which is our nose. There's no better sensor for odors than our own nose. So some years ago, uh, we asked about changing this, and I can assure you that this question, can we change the paradigm, change our company? We we said, what happens if every person, every citizen could be a sensor? What happens if we can involve each person and get he or her to tell us what they smell, when they smell, what type of odor, with what intensity? If this could happen, so we could have a really big collaborative map and really track the sources, the types of odors, the times in which it smelled worst. And as I tell you, this was a breakthrough for us. And after asking us ourselves this question, we changed the vision of our company and we started to use citizen science as the basis of our company. We are experts in citizen science. We work a lot with people. So I'm briefly telling you what this citizen science approach is about. Afterwards, after our first question, we're going to go a little bit more in deep of this to this approach. But briefly saying, citizen science is making science out of people knowledge. But in our case, it's not just making science from what people know, but making science with people. This is a very different approach we have, and it's a very extreme model for citizen science. And we today work with a highly inclusive model. We can identify patterns of odors along time and space. We can have real-time observation. Imagine that each of us is a sensor. So I can say now, well, I smell like waste, for example, and it has been smelling for 2 hours. And it usually smells at this time. So it's very useful information that I can give, and it's a very efficient way to participate from the problems that can affect our community. Now I will do a short break, a couple of minutes wait for you to go to menti.com and enter this code. We're going to ask you about odors. What do you relate odors with? What do odors suggest to you? And afterwards, I go on. Also, if there's some question, I ask the organizers to tell me if you have some questions. You can write also in the chat to communicate, and I have no problem to be interrupted, and we can do like a more interactive presentation. If you are already there, I am waiting for my partners to tell me if there are questions, if they are if you are participating. Angela or
You can
Karin?
find the link
Yeah.
to Mentimeter on the chat. We just have sent it. So please enter there and answer the question. If you have any problem, you can share it through a comment through the chat.
Well, I'd like to share that so far we have words like memories, smell, pleasant, emotion, bad smell, sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all for sending. And
Yeah,
yes,
thank you.
please, whatever comes to your mind about Odor, share with us.
It's certainly it is very very touching this situation because for example I personally live in a place where it really smells bad, and it's really very touching, as I said, to have this situation. So I always try to help people participate and help them to get involved in what's happening. And this is a really efficient way to do it because it's not the same to complain, even to go to the local authorities and complain, than being able to show in a collaborative map my complaints, but also my neighbor's complaint. I will tell you more now. I think there are persons waiting to enter. If you please can accept them. I will go on. So, which is the model? I'm sorry. Oh, I went here. Which is the citizen science model we at Science for Change use for our projects? As I tell you, citizen science is traditionally making science out of what people know. And as I have also told you, and for the people who are entering the webinar now, the extreme citizen science model is about doing science also with people. So if you can see, I don't know if you see my mouse, but the extreme citizen science covers a very, very wide area and includes all persons. There's no different regarding socioeconomic level or gender or whatever condition. We work with all the people because everyone can smell. So there's no requirement other than being able to smell what you smell. And when you use this model, you go through different stages. I know that some people from Greece, from universities and schools, some teachers and students are joining us. So later on, we can go in deep to this model, but just to tell you briefly what it looks like, we can say that we go along 8 stages or 8 phases. First, identifying the issues. What issue do we have? And here, there's no better source of information except than for people, citizens. Citizens who are affected by odors are the best source of information. They know a lot about what happens. So first of all, work with them to identify the situation, the problem you have. And also, these people are going to help you to identify which are the key actors of your neighborhood or your area. I will tell you later on that we work with 4 groups of people, but let me go on to the next stage. When you know what problem you have and which people are key actors of this problem, then you can go to frame the problem and to set objectives and to design the pilot or the project you are going to run. Then it starts the data collection phase, which of course depends a lot on citizens. If you do not engage people in a citizen science project, then you have no project. This is key. If you work with citizen science, you know that you need the information and the participation of the people involved in the problem you are studying. I'm sorry, I have some trouble with the screen. Afterwards, while we are collecting data, you start the data analysis phase, and depending on what you conclude, you are going to design some actions which we actually do with the same citizens. We work with citizens not only for getting information, but in every stage of this model. So we co-design the actions and the strategies with people. And at the final phase, you have the outcomes. The outcomes can be a lot. You can, it depends on how deep the industries or the source of others are engaged, the level of detail that you can have on the situation. Talking about the people involved in a traditional citizen science project, we have 4 groups of actors or persons that we always try to engage in our projects. We have talked about citizens. Also, local governments are key actors because they are usually in charge of regulations, in charge of making the law be present and be respected. Also work with industries which are usually the emitters, the emitting sources of bad smells, and also try to work with the academic sector or the scientific sector because they usually help reaching to better solutions, more complete, and they add the knowledge that it's needed for this kind of project. It depends on the project you are going to run, of course. So when we ask the question, what if we change the paradigm and stop using traditional methods for measuring odors and start using a citizen science-based model, when we reached to this conclusion, we started working on developing resources for achieving our objective. And we developed many resources, which we are going to see more in depth during this presentation. But briefly, we developed an application called OdourCollect. It's a free application, citizen science based. We built some resources that are available through your web, the Odor Observatory, where you can see, for example, which are the communities that are affected worldwide. We can also see there the map of regulations, because there are some uh, countries and some cities that have regulation for odors and others that do not have. So it's important to have a map of this regulation, because it inspires authorities and persons to build their own regulations for their cities. And also a map of affected communities. I'm going to talk in detail about this later on. We are now running 10 pilot cases worldwide. Here you can see the places where we are working. This is part of an European project called the Gnosis. The Gnosis is a pilot that has adopted our OtherCollect tool to implement all these case studies. We're going to talk about two of them in this webinar, which one of them is Barcelona, and the other one is Uganda. They are very different situations, very different case studies, but we wanted to share with you both cases so that you can see from one end to the other what possibilities we have. Also, the pilot implemented in Uganda has, I think, a very educational value. So as we have a lot of teachers and students here present at the webinar, we wanted to include that because it's very special to us. What about Barcelona? I live in Barcelona, and I am going to tell you something personal. When I first met the team of Science for Change, I was not part of the team. I was hired later, and they called me like the champion. They say that I was the champion of this project because I was deeply involved with environmental issues of the area where I live, and I participated a lot of this pilot. So I got to know this project from the user's point of view, and now I have both visions. The area where I live and where this pilot was run is the Forum of Barcelona. It's one end of Barcelona, very near the sea, fortunately, because that helps us a little bit with odors. But even though we have great trouble, because this area is has a lot of industrial plants of several types. It gives service to the whole Barcelona and some cities nearby. And so we have the waste treatment plants, we have a wastewater plant also, we have a lot of industries that used to be here before people arrived to the area, but now like we try to live together and it's really difficult. So for many years, we complained to authorities about these issues for a lot of years. And some time ago, the people from the Gnosis team and from Science for Change came to the neighbors and said, do you want to be a pilot for this citizen science-based odor assessment? And I say, okay. And we started telling the teams when it smelled, what it smelled like. And now we have more than 800 observations. We have more than 400 neighbors engaged in the pilot. And today, I have a very good news that today the local authority, which is the metropolitan area of Barcelona, confirmed a budget of 7.4 million euros to solve the problem that the waste water treatment plant is bringing to our neighborhood. After years and years of complaint, Today they confirm they are going to invest to mitigate this problem. So what's the difference for people to complain or to complain through this type of project? When you register your observation, a balloon like this, like a ball like this, appears in the map. If you go into the application, you can see your observations and also your neighbor's observations because the data is open. We wanted it to be open because we want that any person can enter the area and know what people say about this area and how it smells. And we're very happy because of the results of this pilot. And we are going now to the second phase. So first of all, people have to give register their observation and say when it smells, how it smells. We're going to see this more in depth in a while. Afterwards, what do people at Science for Change do with these observations? Well, we ran a model, a dispersion models that also take into account the climate data to track the odor and to estimate the source of the odor. We call this like retro. I don't know how to say retro trajectory. Yeah, I think I'm sorry for this English because yeah, retro trajectory. So each observation is attached to a retro trajectory. So you can study where the odor comes from. And if in the way you can find, for example, the wastewater treatment plant, then you can estimate and you can suppose that the odor comes from that source. In the Barcelona pilot, there were two main sources of complaints. One was wastewater and the other one was waste. And of course, this is in agreement with the types of odors that of the activities in the area. As I told you, we have a waste treatment plant and a wastewater plant. So it's very coherent with the situation we have in our neighborhood. Here you can find some graphics about the types of odors that people reported, and well, there's a lot of information that you can enter. Then I will tell you how to do so. Now I invite my partner, Nora, to tell you about the pilot in Uganda, which is a very different one.
Good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, very briefly, this is a pilot that we wanted to undertake to be able to test the methodology of the Gnosis project, as Silvina was saying, in other contexts outside Europe. So we have two pilots that are happening outside Europe. So one is this one, the Ugandan pilot, and the other one is in Chile. So in Uganda, why Uganda? Why Kampala? Why to run a pilot in odor pollution in Kampala? So odor pollution is an issue in Kampala, so it's present in the media, as you can see in the slide. This is just an example. Actually, the authorities, especially the environmental authority and the city council, are overwhelmed by odor pollution, and actually are interested also in looking for ways in which they can monitor odors to look for improvements. So just to give you an example, the sheer volume of waste generated of this waste, only 40% is collected. And in the slums, it's even worse because they have less access to this. So waste is not managed properly at all. So this is just one of the problems that causes odors. You can go to the next, Silvina, please.
Yes.
So we thought that this was a wonderful opportunity, also because there's a new environmental law that includes air pollution and odors in it. So we thought that this was very positive for our project. And then the Kampala City Council was interested in a monitoring system, as I was saying, to report odor observations and investigate odor emitting activities. So to do so, we have constructed a partnership between Mapping for Change, which is a company based in London. I think Maria is here in the webinar with us. So if you want to add something, you're very welcome. And they were already working in air pollution in Kampala. Actually, I did a modification in the slide, but it doesn't appear. But Mapping for Change created also an NGO that is a mapping for communities, which is based in Kampala. We are also partnershiping with Science for Change ourselves, and then the Environmental Authority of Barcelona, and this is all within the Gnosis project. Next,
Shall
please.
I go on? Yes.
Yes. So I will be very brief, but our objectives with this pilot were, first of all, increase the awareness and capacities of the local authorities and NGOs in order to influence public policies related to odor pollution. We also aim to improve the monitoring of odor pollution in Kampala by using participatory mapping from a citizen science approach through scientific education in the schools of Kampala. For us, it was very important to include children and women in this project. So working with schools and working with women who are the ones mainly working in the markets. So our last objective is to design a pilot strategy with all these actors based on the mapping carried out in order to tackle odor pollution in the municipal market. Next, please. So we first conducted a stakeholder workshop that was very successful, and we wanted to identify with all the actors the other issues in the city, their needs about it, and start a monitoring strategy, start a co-designing a monitoring strategy with all the actors, presenting what we thought it could be a good strategy following participatory mapping in citizen science. Next, please. So then we conducted a teachers training. We are working with 10 schools in Kampala. We wanted to train them and co-design a schools program for them to train the children to gather data in odor pollution and to be able to, on the one hand, gather data about odor pollution in some sites of the city, and on the other hand, do science education with the children. So next, please. So for that, we designed a schools program, which has 7 lessons, and we tackle the human sense of smell, odor pollution, then how to measure odors, through citizen science, what is citizen science, what is perception mapping, and the power of maps, and how can we map odors using this strategy. Then we go into awareness raising, and then we build a schools project. Go ahead, please. So that was one of the students training here with the kids. And actually, I will be very brief because I don't have a lot of time here. We have a lot of things to tell about this pilot. Here, we did sensory mapping because it was very difficult in this context to use phones and to use the OdourCollect app. So we wanted to adapt our strategy because, as Silvina was saying, we stick to the extreme citizen science approach. So we want to be inclusive with the people who is suffering any kind of socio-environmental issue. In this example is odor pollution, of course. So we constructed with the kids a smell diary in which they could track odors and have the same. So actually the information that they were gathering is the same one that you gather in the app. And then our objective is to introduce this information in the app afterwards. So they are anyway gathering data in real time. So that's that here you can see this cute kid writing in his smell diary. So and to end this part, this is 2 pictures of the school ambassadors. So the strategy that we did is to train first the school ambassadors of the 10 schools, and then from these 10 schools, they would go into their other classes to train the other kids in data collection. So now we are a bit struggling with coronavirus, as you can imagine, because as you can see in these pictures, this would be completely and absolutely impossible nowadays. So schools are closed and we are trying to advance with the project, but we are doing our best. So thanks very much. I will pass the word to Silvina again. If you have any questions, please just drop them in the chat and we will answer them. Thank you very much.
So now, please, you can go to menteecom again, please, mente.com, and answer one more question.
Okay. In the meantime, while you go to menti.com, I will summarize briefly what we have talked until now. Odor pollution is a very important source of complaints worldwide. There are a lot of traditional and expensive, not inexpensive, but expensive methods to tackle odor pollution, to measure the odors, and we chose to work with a citizen science-based approach. This citizen science-based approach is highly inclusive. Everyone can participate. You have the best sensor for the people who are entering now to the conversation, to the webinar. You have the best sensor you can have in the industry, in the world, to smell, and it's your nose. So everyone can participate, can be part of the solution to the odor, to an odor affection. From Barcelona, where we have a lot of technological tools available for most people, to Uganda, who has a different situation. In both places and in the middle, in every place, we can run a citizen science project, and we can make science out of people and with people. I will show you later on the tool that you can use to register your observations and how we work. Now, I don't know if the organizers can tell me if we have some question, if we have some comment on the Mentimeter. I don't know, Karina or Angela, if you want to comment something.
Yeah,
If not, I go on.
somebody shared with us about a residual smell from aquatic feed mill plant. So I don't know if this person that wrote want to share anything about it. Please feel free.
We have time, so if you want to share and talk, tell us 2 words about what you are writing or you want to share, you're welcome.
At this moment, there is no comment, but as Silvina said, please feel free to comment anything, to any question you have, any doubt, or just comment about something you are interested in. Feel free.
Yeah. If not, I go on, and as I told you before, if you want to ask or interrupt, it's no problem. It's okay for me.
We have
yeah.
We have a question. Do you have plans on making data available in downloadable format from the app?
The data is open, not for commercial use, but it's open for people. This means that any person can enter at this time and see what people are registering in Barcelona or wherever, because we have 10 pilot cases we are working on, but this doesn't mean that you cannot start your own project, your own pilot. In fact, there are people that have started reporting odors and we didn't even know about them. We got to know because we started seeing our maps, the maps that we usually study, the odor maps, and we say, oh, there are a lot of balloons here. So what's happening? And then we contact the persons. So anyone can download the application that I'm going to present to you right now. and start registering your data. Of course, if you want to do a commercial use of this or if you need help, you can also contact us because there are certain features of the application that we should manage and we should give you access. For example, if here in the case of the pilots, we have limited the area so that we can study them all together and not just seeing observations in a separate way. So you need help, of course, to do so. And we also live from this project, but there's a lot of information, a lot of tools that you can use free and open. I will teach you how to download this application and start using it. Is there another question, Angela?
Sorry. Yes, someone says that I tried, wait, sorry. I tried to write down a case of bad smell from water waste plant in the area where my school is, but it was too long, so I cannot submit it, neither I can go back and rephrase it. I am not sure, Anna, if you are referring to OdourCollect app or... Anna, could you clarify the question if you are referring to OdourCollect app or just that I am referring to Menti. Okay, sorry. So
okay.
was not, sorry, I wasn't sure if I understand it. Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm sorry
Okay.
that I moved and here it is. Okay, we are going to leave your contact information. So if you have some specific question or doubt, or you need information, or you want to start a project, or in the case of the teachers and students from Greece that are sharing this webinar with us, you can contact us later on. Also, Maria from Greece and from the Cost for Cloud project, she's very in deep with this project, and we can through her help you either to introduce this type of tool within your class or to conduct a project if it's the case. So I will start by telling you one of the most important resources we have developed for this kind of citizen-based project, which is our application, OdourCollect. As I've told you, it's a free application. You can view your data and other people's data. This application needs permission for your localization. So whenever you register an odor, you are geolocalized in real time and real space. You can also register intensity and what we call hedonic tone. The hedonic tone means, is it nice? Is it a nice smell? There are people that want to write down when it smells okay, because it's also a way to improve your neighborhood, your area. And of course, most of the observations are not for good. They are for bad reasons because of foul or bad smells, bad odors. So you can register intensity and whether it is nice or foul. You can also register the duration of the episode. For example, you can say, oh, today it has smelled the whole day. You can write down that. And as I told you several times, the data is open. So how to get the application OtherCollect? It of course works both for Android and from Apple, for Apple. So you go to your store, look for OtherCollect, and you can download the application. You have to register, you have to provide an email, username and password, and you have to give permission for being geolocalized. If not, it doesn't work because the map is based on the place where the observation was registered. Then you verify your email and then just smell and share, smell and share. That's it. It's very simple, but it's very powerful. So how to report an odor observation? If you, oh, I forgot to tell you something, and it's very important. I'm sorry. It's about I'm sorry, here. I told you that you can download the application, but you can also enter a web because it's a web-based application. So if you do not want to have the application with you at your phone, or you have forgotten your phone, you can go to OdourCollect.eu, and you can work the same way as if you had the application. It's all the same. So when you are already registered, you want to add an observation. So what do? You enter the application, and the application, which is in, I think that's 6 or 7 languages, several languages, including Greek. um, you can say what type of odor you are perceiving. So there are several categories: waste, wastewater, agricultural. Oh, I'm sorry. Here is something in Spanish. I'm sorry. Livestock, food industry, industrial, whatever. So you choose the type of odors that you are perceiving. Sometimes people ask us, and how do we know if it's waste or it's wastewater? This depends. When we are implementing a project, we go to where citizens are, and we implement what we call sensorial walks. We walk through the neighborhood, and we teach people to recognize the different smells that affect their area. So most people, for example, in Barcelona, know if this smell that is affecting the community right now is from wastewater or is waste. If you don't know what type of odor is, you can always guess. And you say, I think that this comes from the sewage system, so I will use wastewater. You try to assess the best you can the type of odors that you are perceiving. Afterwards, you evaluate the nuisance. So you can say it's very weak, which it shouldn't be very noticeable, or you can say, oh, it's extremely strong. So from 1 to 6, you can evaluate, you can rank the nuisance you are perceiving. Afterwards, you can indicate how nice or how bad is the smell you are feeling, from -4, which is extremely unpleasant, to 4, which is extremely pleasant. You can rank it. Then you add the duration. It's a punctual smell. Maybe I am passing through some waste bins and it smells horrible, or maybe it's 1 hour since I am perceiving this smell, or the whole day. We have these 3 categories. And in case you know where it comes from, which is always a very useful information to have the citizen's view, you can also state in your comments which you think is the source of the odors. Of course, then we are going to apply our models, and we are going to estimate which the actual source is. But you can help also with that guess. So before going on and telling you about some other resources we have, if you have any doubt on this, you can write the question, and Karina or Angela can interrupt me, and I will answer your question.
We have some questions, so I'm going
Yes.
to.
Regarding, sorry?
Can you hear me well, or?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So one question is, aren't there problems of enough and uniformly distributed over space and time samples?
If there is problem, you said, Angela?
Yes, if there's any problem, if you have enough and over space and time samples of odor.
This is form. As I said at the beginning of the project, if you have very few citizens engaged, if you haven't done a good job engaging citizens, then you have no project. because citizens are the ones that provide information. So it's very important before going on, before advancing into the project, to have the citizens on board and to really work with them. In the case of Barcelona, for example, we are sharing with the neighbors all the phases, all the strategies, all the actions are really consensed, are really agreed with the citizens. So when we do something, we know that they are going to be on our side. If that doesn't happen, the information you can get can be reliable or not. So it's like any other science project. If you have enough information, you can have good conclusions. If you don't have information, mm, not so good. So it's very important to work on the area, to get to know the people, to understand which are the associations, the organizations that are key for maintaining participation, for actively being within the project. It depends on that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your answer. We have another question. What is the range of odor pollution sources or pollutants that you have, type of pollutions that you have explored and measured until now?
Until now, the main sources of complaints are three or four, I would say. Wastewater is a very usual source of complaint. Waste treatment plants, livestock. The two first mainly affect cities because they come from plants, from facilities that give services to cities, waste and wastewater. But for example, people who live outside cities sometimes complain about plants that work with animals, slaughterhouses, and they usually have a lot of impact for people living outside the cities. And also industrial areas are a very common source of bad smells. Those four are the most important. There are some cities also in Europe that have a lot of complaints about the sewage system. You know that all the network for wastewater in the cities in Europe is old, and sometimes they also bring a problem. Those are the most common sources of odors.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for your answer. Very interesting. We have another question, which is someone is wondering about how many different projects one teacher can think of and investigate with their students.
We can go in deep. I offer you to talk about this. Karina, please, can you leave my email within the chat so that they can contact me later on? Um, I would say that at the beginning, you should start with one. Of course, you can do as many as you want and as you can. Of course, it depends on your resources. The great difference for me, in my opinion, the great difference for classes, for students, for teachers, is the methodology. We come from years and years of using traditional techniques for measuring and assessing odors. And now we are going to this very innovative tool, which is the citizen science-based tools. And so I think it's very important that your students get to know that there is another possibility for assessing odor problems. So I guess the main difference is not how many projects, but get the students to know that they can do it in a very different way. A different way that's very much supported by the European Union. You know that European Union is investing a lot in citizen science, and I personally think it's the science of the future. Of course, it will never replace traditional scientists, never, but it's a very useful source of information. And also, well, as I told you before, I'm kind of activist, not environmental, but like a citizens activist. Because for me, for example, one of the most important goals in my life is to help people get engaged in their community's trouble. Uh, for many years, we have lived the way other people decided we should live. So if politicians, not because they have bad intention, but they do what they can do, have not, for example, given enough attention to other problem, then I, as a citizen, have to live with this other trouble. So it's very important that people get to know that they can change their environment. They can have an impact, a real impact. And the case that I commented before, what was announced today by the local authority in Barcelona, that they are going to invest 7.4 million euros to solve the problem that was affecting us at the forum in Barcelona is a great example of the impact that citizens can have. So it's very important for you teachers to teach your students that they can do this uh, almost free. Almost, because for example, traditional techniques are very expensive because you can install a limited set of sensors. But here you can have as many sensors as people you have. It depends on the engagement you can perform. It's very important to have the citizens on board, as I have told you. And for the teachers, particularly, I will tell you later on some tools that you can have to study this odor problem affection. And also, please feel free to contact me, and we can talk more about this situation.
Okay, thank you very much again for your answer. We have another question. Could it be interesting register odors in the recent past?
I'm sorry, I couldn't get the complete question, Angela.
Could it be interesting register odors in the recent past? The recent past, I mean, I don't know if the odors you collect are in the moment, have to be at the moment, meaning that I am here, I report an odor, or I can say to you after this, okay, 2 days ago or 1 week ago, I was going through this street and I smelled something bad.
I understand. A lot of people ask us for this feature. We are studying it. We are not very willing to do so because the key of this project is to have real-time observations and to let the application localize you. So this minimizes the errors you can have, because sometimes I say, oh yes, it was 2 days ago at 5. No, maybe it was at 4, and the wind may have changed in that hour that you are not sure what time it was, and it changes everything. Because remember that I give my observation, I am localized, and someone at the Science for Change team implements a trajectory of your smell, of your observation. And so we say, okay, today at 4, the wind was coming from this direction, and in the direction of the wind, we have the wastewater treatment plant. So this person said that he or she smelled wastewater, so it must come from this plant, for example. But if you are not sure of the time, about the time or the place where you were, the conclusions may be really different. What's important, yes, it's that you can sometimes, for example, you are driving and you cannot dedicate time to register your observation. So what do? You just press the plus sign that you have when you are going to add an observation, and the application registers the time and place where you press that first button. So afterwards, when you arrive home, you can complete the action, but you have already been localized. Regarding the feature you ask, we are studying it. I'm not sure it's going to come out.
Okay, thank you very much. And one last question, is citizen science also an expression of social and civic participation and democracy?
Yes.
This is an interesting one.
A big yes, a big yes. And I as I've commented, I'm very passionate about people's participation. I'm very passionate of each of us being really an actor of your history. You deserve to live in the place you would like to live. Of course, it's not that the city is going to adapt to each of us, but there are certain bases like not having to stand bad odors. It's a right. It's a right for all of us to breathe good air. And so, of course, this is a really efficient expression of democracy, of participation, of building your own city, your own community, your own fate, I would say, your own life.
Thank you very much, Silvina, for this answer.
Okay. Well, I have not many more slides to show you, but of course we can go on with the questions, which is the most interesting part for me. Also, this is a very useful tool. You can enter this site, odorobservatory.org, and you can see where people have registered their observations. So I told you that we're working on 10 pilots. We have also some other projects, smaller projects we're working on, but there are people that spontaneously have decided to register their observations. So you can see where people have registered odors. Another tool, here you have a map of affected communities. Sometimes people do not register their observations, but they want to register that they are suffering from odors. So they enter the information. If you have, for example, sometimes you get to know that some community is complaining, and so you can add some link to some newspaper and news or whatever to tell the whole team, the whole team that's working on this project, the Gnosis team. You can tell them that there's an affected community. You can do it right now. If you enter to this link, you can identify any community that you know is suffering from bad smells. Also, there is an odor regulation map available. You know that even when odor is a great source of complaints, there are many cities that do not have regulations in place. And so it's very different from place to place. But this is useful for local authorities because they can get inspiration and build their own regulations map, which we really want to incentive them to do so. And you can also learn about places where there are odor regulations in place, and you can learn from them. You can take examples, and you can build or help to build the regulations for your community. Finally, here you have, this is very useful for teachers. We have a MOOC, an online training course. You can find it at this link. And the good news is that very soon, the Gnosis team is going to publish a special online course for education. So it's specially directed to teachers, students, schools, and universities. It is almost ready. It's just the final approval, sorry, that's missing. And you will have it really soon. Also, if you want to have this presentation, we can send it to the Cost for Cloud team, to Maria in Greece, or wherever you are. Also well, I don't know, Angela, if we are going to publish it
Yeah, it's going to
in
be
social.
all this webinar is going to be published on YouTube. And also we will share it on our social media. We will send you an email as we have your emails because you did your thing up through Eventbrite. We will send you also the link to the video. So no worries, you will have this video. Also you have the email of Silvina, and I'm going to send you also my email. So you have any doubt, any comment, you can write us without any problem.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, uh, on my side, thanks for your participation. We still have 7 minutes to go. If you want to write your questions, you can write your questions either on menti.com or on the chat, because the Menti at this final stage, it's just any question. So if it's easier, you can do it through the chat.
We don't have any more questions, no?
Let's wait if you want for a couple of minutes.
I'll wait a couple of minutes. So if
Yeah,
you
if you
any
want to write down or whatever, you can do it.
Mhm.
I will put my glasses on because if not, I don't see any question. In the meantime, as we wait for some question, just to encourage you to use citizen science. Our specialization is environmental and especially odors, but there are a lot of projects about citizen science, a lot of citizen observatories. We in Cost for Cloud, as Angela said at the beginning of the webinar, we work with many citizen observatories for different purposes. Ours, OdourCollect, is for odors, but there are also biodiversity portals or observatories where you can register your observations of plants or animals or a lot of aspects. And I think it's quite interesting to contribute and to participate from those portals. It's really rewarding. I think in a very personal way, because for on one side you feel that you're contributing to a local and global knowledge, and also you can learn a lot.
Yes, of course,
Well,
Silvina.
okay. If there are no more questions on my side, it's just to say thank you for your participation. Thank you to the Cost for Cloud team. Thank you to the Greek team of Cost for Cloud, um, for uh, for getting in contact with us, for participating, and you can contact me whenever you want for any project or doubt, or if you want information. Thank you.
We have one question now, which is how many schools have participated in a project like this so far? Mm.
It depends. It depends on the project, and sometimes you have more schools that want to participate or that are related to the problem you are trying to assess. It depends on the project. I do not have a number. I don't know how many because um, it, in the different projects you have different actors involved, and so within these actors you can find
I can
schools. But
answer this. I can contribute to this question if you want.
okay, yes, please.
Actually, some of the pilot case studies from the Gnosis project have chosen to include schools in their pilots, as the Ugandan pilot that I was presenting, but also in Greece. Actually, our partner Envirometrics is running a pilot case study in Thessaloniki. I don't know if there's somebody here from Thessaloniki, but they're running a pilot there. There's a problem with a refinery and with the river. Yeah, so I cannot tell you a number of schools, but some pilots, as also in Portugal, in São João de Madeira, or in Porto, they are including schools in their pilots. And as I was saying before, this has a double or a triple objective. So work in science education through citizen science, gather data in odor pollution in their context, and then also work to contribute to the STEM education. So yeah, I can say it has a triple objective actually.
Yeah. It's very interesting to engage schools, for example, in a project that it's not implemented now, but we are working on it, where we are assessing odors on one side, but we wanted to engage schools. So we said, okay, what can they do to be engaged? on top of registering their observations, and we are working with them to build some sensors for air quality, some like do-it-yourself sensors, and we plan to work to engage schools with this activity. So you have to look the way in which you can engage schools, but it's really important, and I personally think that it's key to have kids engaged in this type of participation and in this type of activities from as soon as possible.
Okay. Thank you very much. We have one last question, is that if you have any partner, any academic partner, like a research institution or university involved in the project?
Nora, Mary, you can answer? If not, I answer.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry, can you
okay.
repeat the question? Because I was pasting in the chat a link.
Okay. If not, I can answer, because
in Odor pollution for the general public. I'm not sure if we pasted it before, and that can be interesting about what we were saying before. The MOOC in Odor pollution directed to educators is ready. So yeah, please, can you repeat the question?
Someone asked that if you have any academic partner, like a research institution or university who is involved in the project?
Yeah, sure. In Gnosis, the consortium of the Gnosis project is made following the quadruple helix model. So we have together associations, we have academics, we have city councils, São João de Madeira and Sofia, and we have, now I miss one. So local authorities, citizens, and we have, we have an association which is managing industries. So when we constructed the consortium, we tried to gather all these stakeholders in order to also learn the strategies that we would be applying in the pilots. So as academia, we have actually Polimi, which is a partner from Italy, and yeah, this is an example. So they are other experts. So and actually, there's also Mapping for Change, which is a company that is linked to University College London. Silvina was presenting the extreme citizen science model that comes from UCL. So this is also another academic partner.
Yeah.
And actually we have like the side of odor pollution and the side of citizen science.
Yeah.
So
in most European projects, there are academic institutions involved. As Nora commented, in the case of Gnosis, it was the Politecnico di Milano. And in Cost for Cloud also, we have quite a few institutions that are academic or research-oriented institutions, as for example, the CSIC in Spain, or the Open University in London. So we usually have for this type of projects, universities participating from them.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that's all. We are just on time.
Right on time, yeah.
Thank you very much for this amazing presentation and all your knowledge that you have shared today with us. And we hope all of you have enjoyed this presentation and that you report odor pollution from now on.
Yes.
Thank you very much to everyone for your participation. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.